Every time he opens his mouth and says something about Marsau, he gonna be talking about.
You never say about you. What you talking about?
Marsau knows about Martell, and Martell ain't gonna like that. About Martell, his family, what's going on, and all this stuff.
It started with a moment nobody expected. A moment that felt like the final chapter of a story that had been building right in front of our eyes for years. After all the arguments, the rumors, the business tension, the family pressure, LaTisha Scott finally stood her ground in a way that shook Huntsville to its core. And when that courtroom door opened, she didn't walk out the same woman. She walked out with power.
Do you watch your kids sometimes?
No.
Marsau, this is like a non-negotiable right here.
This is not non-negotiable.
Today, right now, this moment, it is. Like this conversation for watching the kids for 2 hours.
Wait. You're trying to say that this right here is non-negotiable?
She walked out with clarity. And she walked out with a victory so massive, it completely flipped the dynamic between her and Marsau. People are still talking about it because this wasn't just a win. This was a message. And it wasn't whispered, it was loud. It was LaTisha, the same woman people once thought was too patient, too forgiving, too soft. What nobody realized was that patience can turn into strategy, forgiveness can become strength, and softness can evolve into fire. And that's exactly what happened.
Yes, well, does he have a vagina and a mouth? Yes.
We're talking about the character of the person.
Absolutely, yes.
This victory didn't come out of nowhere. It came from years of quiet pain, silent planning, and the kind of emotional pressure that can either break a person or reshape them. And LaTisha didn't break. She rebuilt. But to understand how she got here, how she gained this massive win that left Marsau stunned, we have to go back to the beginning, back to where the cracks first started showing, even if the world didn't catch them at first. For so long, LaTisha and Marsau were the couple that people looked at and said, they're solid, they're strong, they're building something real.
It was kind of embarrassing. I wanted to be very clear about what actually happened during that fight and the events that led up to it. There's a lot that you guys didn't see.
They were partners in business, partners in marriage, partners in life. But behind that image was a woman trying her hardest to prove she could stand beside her husband as an equal, while Marsau still tried to hold on to an old-school mindset that didn't fit in the world they were trying to build. From the outside, they looked like a power couple: real estate, construction, the Black Cigar Lounge, television fame, a growing brand. But success doesn't silence problems. In fact, sometimes it makes them louder. And once the cameras turned on for Love and Marriage Huntsville, the world started to see what LaTisha had been trying to balance for years.
Some of the things that they was throwing at us, I haven't dealt with it. And I felt like it was a distraction because I really wanted to talk about, some of the things we really did have to overcome within our relationship and our marriage. But infidelity wasn't one of them, So I'm like, it just wasn't my...
The dismissive comments, the controlling tone, the way her ideas were brushed off like they didn't carry weight. The way her voice often had to fight for space inside her own marriage. People noticed how Marsau would talk down to her, question her moves, or make jokes that didn't feel like jokes. They noticed how her confidence would rise one minute and crumble the next. They noticed the tension she tried to hide with a smile. And even though she loved her husband deeply, even though she believed in the family they built, even though she held on longer than most people would have, something inside her was slowly shifting.
Started having people come to me. It was like, well, we've been offered money to come on the show and said we slept with your husband. I was like, oh my God. Like, this
Are you serious?
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, this is crazy. Like, people are really offering you money to come on this show and lie. So at that point, I was like, forget it. It's a lie. Like, now I don't believe anything.
What nobody knew then was that LaTisha was quietly preparing for the moment she would need to protect not just her heart, but her future. The turning point didn't come all at once. It came in small pieces. A rumor here, a disagreement there, a shady comment from another castmate, a moment when Marsau refused to answer a simple question, a night when he didn't show up on time, a business deal where he made decisions like she didn't exist. Every little moment was like a puzzle piece that only made sense when she stepped back and saw the full picture. And then came the breaking moment, the one that made her realize she couldn't keep ignoring the signs. It wasn't one fight, it wasn't one rumor, it wasn't one episode. It was a pattern of dismissing her growth, a pattern of acting like the businesses were his ideas alone, a pattern of taking credit for things she helped build, a pattern of expecting loyalty even when he wasn't giving transparency. That's when LaTisha started planning, not out of revenge, but out of survival. She needed to protect her work, her legacy, her children's future, and her mental peace. And while the world thought she was still playing the role of the supportive wife, she was quietly collecting paperwork, getting legal guidance, reviewing ownership documents, and learning exactly what she was entitled to. She wasn't the same woman she was when the show began. She had grown. She had changed. She had learned the value of her voice. And the day she walked into that courtroom, she walked in as a woman who was done being overlooked. The drama truly exploded when the legal filings came out. That's when fans realized this wasn't just a normal disagreement. This was a full fight for control. And the stakes were huge. Businesses, properties, investments, accounts, and years of shared wealth. Marsau walked in thinking he would negotiate from a position of strength, but LaTisha had receipts, years of them. At first, Marsau tried to act confident, like he wasn't worried. He even cracked a few jokes. But the courtroom isn't a reunion special. It isn't a scene you can charm your way through. It isn't a place where arrogance wins. It's where facts speak louder than attitude. And once LaTisha's legal team laid the evidence out piece by piece, the entire room felt the shift. What nobody expected was just how damaging some of the findings would be for Marsau. There were financial decisions made without proper communication, business accounts that didn't match what was shown, investments that weren't explained fully, emails that suggested major choices were being made behind her back, and the judge took all of it seriously. But the real turning point, the moment everything flipped, came when the judge emphasized one thing: contribution. Not just money, not just paperwork, but the years LaTisha spent building the brand, supporting the businesses, carrying the family, showing up for events, managing the kids, running her own career, and holding everything together. That emotional labor matters, and in this case, it won. The judge's ruling hit Marsau like a shockwave. He didn't just lose a negotiation, he lost the upper hand he thought he'd always have. LaTisha walked out with majority control over several shared assets, expanded authority over their real estate ventures, and final say in certain business dealings that were once balanced, or in some cases, tilted heavily in his favor. She gained independence, stability, peace, and Marsau? He was left trying to process what happened while social media exploded with reactions. Some fans said they saw it coming. Others said Marsau never believed LaTisha would actually fight back. Some blamed him for taking her for granted. Others praised LaTisha for finally choosing herself after years of emotional exhaustion. Either way, the internet had opinions, and they were loud. People remembered the episodes where she cried, the scenes where she tried to express frustration but got shut down, the moments when Marsau's jokes weren't really jokes, the arguments where she begged to be understood, the hurt hiding behind her smile, and now, seeing her win, it felt like justice. It felt overdue. But here's the twist. Her massive win wasn't just about business. It wasn't just about money. It was about closure. It was about a woman finally stepping into a version of herself she had been burying out of love, fear, and loyalty. People didn't realize how deeply the marriage drama had affected her until she started shining again, brighter, stronger, more confident. For years, she carried the emotional weight of trying to keep her family together, trying to keep the brand strong, trying to avoid embarrassment, trying to silence the doubts whispered by cast members and fueled by rumors. She felt like she had to protect Marsau even when he didn't protect her heart. She felt like she had to stand by him even when he wasn't standing beside her. That pressure wears a person down. At home, she didn't feel heard. On the show, she didn't feel supported. In business, she felt overshadowed, and emotionally, she felt drained. She questioned herself, she questioned her choices, she questioned her future. But the moment she took that legal step, everything changed. She realized she wasn't weak, she wasn't naive, she wasn't clueless. She was tired, and tired women become powerful when they finally choose themselves. The emotional impact was deeper than fans realize. This win gave LaTisha something she hadn't felt in a long time: freedom. Not freedom from marriage, but freedom from fear. The fear of what might happen if she spoke up. The fear of losing everything she helped build. The fear of being seen as the problem. That weight finally lifted. And for Marsau, the emotional impact hit hard. He wasn't used to losing control. He wasn't used to LaTisha pushing back in such a public and powerful way. For the first time, he had to face the reality that the woman he thought would always stay in his shadow had stepped into her own light. And that brings us to the moment everyone is still talking about, the aftermath. Because this wasn't a quiet victory. This wasn't a small shift. This was a complete reset. A new chapter that none of us expected to be so dramatic. LaTisha didn't walk out of that courtroom angry. She didn't walk out bitter. She didn't walk out gloating. She walked out with calm confidence, like someone who finally understood her own worth and refused to let anyone dim it again. Her massive win didn't destroy Marsau financially, but it destroyed the dynamic he once controlled. It destroyed the assumption that she would always stay silent. It destroyed the belief that she wouldn't fight back. And now, the power in their relationship has officially shifted. People are now wondering, what happens next? Will this rebuild their marriage? Will it break it? Will they stay together? Will they separate? Will the show reveal even more? Nobody knows yet. But one thing is certain, LaTisha Scott is no longer the woman people underestimated.